The Clean Power Hour is brought to you by Continental Energy Solutions. I'm Tim Montague, your co-host, coming to you live from Elizabeth, New Jersey. Today, I'm on the road in the E-Coaster. You can see I'm at a charging station outside a ginormous mall, and I'm going to show that rooftop, which has a lovely solar array on it. Welcome to episode 50 of the Clean Power Hour. My co-host, John Weaver.
50 barely feels like 49 episodes. Telling you.
So we made it. We made it to a whole year of the Clean Power Hour. Well, I mean, technically, episode 52 would be a year's worth, but we
missed 1 or 2 weeks. Yeah, but we did miss at least 1 or 2 weeks for life and stuff. So 50 is a proper year. Tim, I noticed you didn't pay me my proper 2 weeks vacation, so I think something's due. I'm not sure how this works.
The check is in the mail, John. The check is in the mail, man.
The union will respond, Timothy. The union will respond. So you're in Jersey and you're you got a solar system. Did you get your drone up or something like that?
Yeah, I have some slightly more interesting news for me than the fact that I'm sitting outside a ginormous rooftop solar array, which I will put on screen here in a second.
Okay.
But John, I am the church lady of electric vehicle range, right? And I love to give Tesla grief because the computer lies to you about how far your Tesla can go. I was talking to a Hyundai Kona EV owner. I'm at a charging station where there's also non-Tesla chargers.
Nice.
And but I've been on this trip for the last 3 days. I went to Virginia and then DC and then New Jersey, where I visited my dad. He lives in New Brunswick. And now I'm picking up my son, who's flying in from Norway here at EWR at Newark Airport. But the charging infrastructure on the East Coast is just amazing. And the combination of really good charging infrastructure and Tesla auto steer has made me fall in love with my Tesla again. And I never want to go back. When I'm cruising down the road, seeing this sea of ICE engines, I just feel like that is just so yesterday. And I am in the future, and it's called New Jersey. So if you're not an EV owner yet, you definitely want to go there and get in the game of reducing your carbon footprint.
So I find the amount of energy I have, mental energy, whatever it is, physical energy, when I've spent many hours cruising the highway with the vehicle sitting in the middle lane. That is when I find that at the end of that trip, it's just like, oh, what a relaxing, nice drive that was.
Yep.
Because the car shifts. I let my car change a little bit of lanes now on its own, but I always make it go back to middle lane. That's just how I accept changes, and ding, ding. And it always gets back to that middle lane, and it's just perfect there. And with the charging infrastructure, I did 3,500 miles over Christmas with my mom, and we pretty much went from charger to charger, and it was perfect. We stopped at hotels. It's not always at the perfect place to have a nice sandwich, but it's within a quarter-mile walk, and you got a 20-minute wait anyway. And when you accidentally take a longer time, you come back with more energy. And so it's like, oh man, I accidentally spent 35 minutes going to get a sandwich instead of 20 minutes to optimally fill up the car. And it's well, anyway, getting on. And, it's really easy to spend an extra 10 minutes getting a sandwich. And so that's cool that you've had the experience now to hang out on the East Coast, because it makes a piece of the equation fall away as a challenge. The range anxiety disappears when you start to think, this is a 200-mile trip with 2 or 3 hours, because at the end of that 2 or 3 hours, I'm going to be tired. And I'm really just going to drive from this Tesla to that Tesla on the highway usually. And the car is going to drive itself the whole damn way and then the car is going to start optimizing for supercharging. And I want to know what that is. I don't know. Do you happen to know technically what's going on when the car says, optimizing for fast charging, when you're going to a charger.
Yeah, when it's conditioning the battery.
Yeah, there you go. Do you know what that means? Like technically what's going on?
I think it's just adjusting the temperature of the battery to be at 70 degrees or whatever the battery really wants. It's around 70 degrees that the battery wants to be at to charge. Cool. And so the other thing that I've noticed is that I expected the charging stations to be much more crowded here. In Illinois, they're almost always empty. And I thought, okay, I'm coming to the East Coast, earlier adopters than us Midwesterners. But no, and like today, I'm at a 16 station charging station. And the most cars I've seen is like 3 or 4 Teslas out of 16. So 25% of the chargers have cars at them. And
watch that change. That's going to change starting
I know.
tomorrow.
The wave is coming. The wave is
about
coming.
2 p.m., about 1 p.m. Because like me, the last time I charged my car to charging station was month and a half, 2 months ago. Everything else is at work or at home. And, but tomorrow, or actually tonight, starting at 5 p.m., I'll be driving down I-95 to head south July 4th for DC. And so as the traveling weekend picks up, you'll see that change a little. But yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to go to, Tesla is also opening up their charging network, right, to non-Teslas. And that is going to change the game, because we're going to see a lot more Fords and VWs and of course Hyundais at Tesla stations once they open up the network. And it will be good for the energy transition. So I appreciate Elon Musk doing this, although I just hope that I don't run into a bunch of crowded chargers because of that problem. But
I think people are going to want to compete and make some money. And I think that's going to lead to a proliferation of chargers, charger technology, opportunity, competition, et cetera.
Yeah.
I think so.
We have a lot of news, so I better get into the headlines. And I didn't give those in the opening, but the stories we're going to talk about today are rooftop solar being blocked by a powerful lobby or lobby groups, including the EEI, the Edison Electric Institute, which is the trade organization for investor-owned utilities. We're going to give a quick update on the ISS solar array, just show a video of that array being unpacked from the Crew Dragon. And then Tesla signs a deal with a new home builder to outfit all of the homes with solar, Powerwall, and EV chargers. Sin City is going solar. Thanks to MGM Resorts, they're installing a 100 megawatt solar array capable of powering 90% of 13 hotels. So that's pretty cool. And Tata Power, the Indian company, has energized the largest rooftop the largest carport, which is 6.2 megawatts. It's a 7-acre carport. They also are the owner of the world's largest rooftop array, so we'll touch on that as well. And some solar panel news. World's largest solar panel manufacturer, I think that's Jinko, is talking about a 30% efficient solar panel. Solar cell. Perovskites are going mainstream, and so we're going to hit on that. And then there's a Resi flow battery manufacturer coming to the U.S. So let's get into it, John. And I had just so our listeners understand that array on the screen right now is the New Jersey Mills.
You got to bring up the array. Where's the array? You got the article up right now. You got to show everybody the array real quick.
Let me get to the array. Sorry. There's the array.
Oof, gorgeous.
And there's even some warehouses right around here. I noticed right here that there's some more solar on these.
Yep.
Elizabeth, New Jersey. Elizabeth is a ginormous port. So if you've ever been there, you see a lot of cranes, and it's a very heavily industrialized area. But it's great to see solar on warehouses, because that doesn't always work, right? But all right, so the Electric Utility Anti-Rooftop Solar Playbook by John Fitzgerald Weaver. Oh, nice.
I know that guy.
What's the story, John?
So this is an opinion piece. Notice how it's listed as opinion. Notice how when you mouse over my name, It doesn't give you a link to my standard. So this is an opinion piece because my opinion is strong here, Timothy. This is how monopoly power, big money, etc., comes together to fight against a thing when you're a climate denier and you're just there for some cash. And there are different ways of things to do it. You know, we have within our own industry, we have groups who push back against rooftop solar because they think that the greatest efficiency in all ways is via large scale ground mount. And some of those people do it just because they want to own the facilities. You know, we're talking like NextEra, but and they're included in this article. And so what this article is a group put together a 50-page document going over how politics, lobbying, and different things come together, including $61 million of just straight up bribes in Ohio to attack renewables, solar, and specifically rooftop solar. And two of the things that were brought up in this research paper, in this document, one is the $61 million bribe that happened in Ohio. And two is how NextEra and FPL in Florida have heavily influenced via campaign finance, the state of Florida politics, and have run legislative attacks against solar via a technique that they termed political jujitsu, which was to word an amendment so that it sounded like it was pro-solar, and then to get people to vote for it because solar is as popular as apple pie, to say, hey, this is for smart solar laws. And in reality, it was solar laws that were going to undercut rooftop solar. And so a political operative from Florida Power and Light, NextEra money, was recorded at a conference saying, we will use the political jujitsu of the strength of solar to structure legislation so that it looks like to the common person pro-solar legislation, but we're gonna and slip a punch in there and steal something from them. And this whole document, and just type in political jujitsu, solar power into Google, anywhere, and you're gonna find an amazing recording. And it's just like, this is it. This is how the man steals from the people. And I even reference a death, and I'm happy that the death occurred in this article. And it's just, hypocrisy. We have hundreds of people that are dying right now on the West Coast, Northwest, because they're old. They live in structures that weren't built for our modern climate. This heat dome thing is a unique weather event. And I got to read about it technically to learn. But the people at the EEI and other groups who push back against solar, who've lied about climate change, they're the same groups pushing back against rooftop. And they're guilty in the deaths of these humans. And that's why this article is an opinion one. And that's why I have to temper myself as I speak on the topic. There are bad actors involved.
So just to lay out the actors we're talking about: Edison Electric Institute, American Legislative Exchange Council, otherwise known as ALEC, the Consumer Energy Alliance, a Houston-based front group for the utility and fossil fuel industry, and our long-term friends, the Koch organization, aka the Koch brothers, who are well-known operatives in the fossil fuel industry and basically trying to contaminate our democracy. All of these groups, right, trying to contaminate our democracy with money in politics. As most Americans know, money makes the world go around, and donations to politicians really gets favor. So yes, this is a major problem. And if you live in Florida, it's very ironic that it's not easy, or it's not economical to install a rooftop solar array, right? there is lots of PV in Florida, but it's all utility scale, owned and operated by Florida Power and Light. And they're taking advantage of the solar industry because it is economical, but they're preventing consumers from benefiting directly. And that's a bummer.
It's interesting. NextEra, who is FPL, they are maybe the second largest solar developer on Earth. But at the same time, what it is that they want to be the solar developer, not you, Timothy. They don't want you to be a solar developer. They don't want your homeowner to be a solar developer. They want it. And it's like, It's an opinion piece, Timothy. It's an opinion piece. It does not represent the official opinion of this organization, nor any of its advertisers.
All right, let's move on. We've got a great story here that Tesla signed a deal with a new home builder to outfit whole community with solar, Powerwall, and chargers. Story from Electrek. And there is the Tesla solar roof there, and Tesla in the driveway with the Powerwall and a Tesla charger. And, you know, when you go to places like Colorado, John, you see this where there are master plan communities with all solar on the roof. I don't know if you see this in Massachusetts. I was just thrilled to see this in Colorado a couple of years ago when I visited the Denver area. We don't see this in the Midwest yet. But it is just a matter of time, right, before this really starts to happen. And if our listeners don't know this, all new residential construction in California requires solar by code now. So the solar roof is definitely going to be a thing, and it's great for new construction. It's probably very expensive if you have to tear off your roof and then install a solar roof. But any thoughts about this, John?
So speaking of our last article, the attack on rooftop solar, they better be damn afraid, because we're going to take like 20-30% of their business. The thing, though, that they should accept is that the industry is going to double in size. So, you know, we're going to take 20% of twice as much, which should be cool. And because of this, you know, it's immensely valuable. It's worth hundreds of billions of dollars to everybody on the grid for there to be significant distributed energy. And when we see what's happening in the Northeast, where there's rolling blackouts and people dying in their homes, when we see it happening in Texas, what occurred, when we see it in California, Arizona, now the heat wave, as the heat dome moves across the Northeast, it's going into eastern Washington State. It's going into the next regions who are all having their own challenges. Even the Northeast had New York put out an electricity use slowdown request around 3, 4, 5 p.m. as the grid was peaking. And so, Tim, I would also nudge you, do your best not to charge if today's another record heat day, starting around 3 to 7 p.m., because there may be, you know, New York City requested that specifically. And there was a 200 megawatt drop in demand almost immediately after the city sent out text messages to everybody saying, hey, please conserve energy. It's a time, everybody's flicking lights, throwing ACs, whatever went on, just like across the region. So it's, you know, these houses distributed like this, they add resilience, they add economic value, and, you know, a car, a house, a battery, a little system where they all talk among themselves. You are a power plant for days on end. You can fight some zombies. You can defend yourself against the invading forces, maybe even the aliens. Maybe one day we'll all have little lasers at home that we can shoot them off into the sky, and we'll just have to repower every day. I don't know. But this is big, and it's going to get bigger. Massachusetts might have these types of laws coming soon where rooftop solar maybe or net zero houses may be required. And, you know, net zero, where the heck do you get the electricity? You're going to have to get some of it locally. So,
Yeah, this builder is called Allsit, and they call it the Allsit eHome. They're going to build 100 of these homes this year, and they have 650 homes planned for next year. So we will continue to follow this story as it emerges. Moving on to another electric story, and MGM Resorts introduces a 100 megawatt solar array to power 13 hotels on the Las Vegas Strip. I am not a gambler myself, John, but I appreciate what MGM is doing here. And a 100 megawatt array is nothing to sneeze at. That is a nice chunk. We're talking 500 acres of solar farm. And this includes hotels like Aria, MGM Grand, the Mirage, all very, very well-known names. And these guys are operating 31 resorts around the world. So they're taking a significant, stab at zeroing out their carbon footprint here. And these resorts represent 36,000 rooms or 65 million square feet. So this is a real project.
And it's probably actually 130 megs. Look at that. See, it's 100 megs AC, I would bet. 323,000 panels. Let's guess that these are like 500 watt panels because
640 acres, 323,000 solar panels.
Yeah. So if you do 500 watt, they're 161 megs. So maybe it's 400 watt panels because the system's coming online and they're using panels that are available. That's 130 megs. So 1.3 to 1 DC to AC. I bet you it's a 125-ish. Maybe they're 375 watt panels, whatever. It's cool. Nevada builds solar. It's complex in the state, I've read, because this is a Warren Buffett owned electricity utility that feeds Vegas, might be NV Energy. And these companies have had to pay exit fees in this area because the way they have the rules, it's not deregulated electricity in Nevada. It's a monopoly. There's two utilities for the whole of the state, to the best of my knowledge, at least with the two main utilities. And so, offsetting some more electricity. Nevada's got a lot of batteries. I'm surprised they didn't make a battery announcement, but it's a good place to have some electricity. Southern Nevada is good desert. It's right next to the Hoover Dam, which is, I'm really worried about it because that drought out there.
Yeah.
Right? Like they've literally considered shutting off the Hoover Dam, dude.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Yeah, a lot of strange weather going on. Of course, there's a major heat wave going on in the Northwest, in the Pacific Northwest. It's killed, I think, dozens of people now.
Hundreds, sir.
With
hundreds.
temperatures above 100 degrees in Washington and Oregon. It's like, what is going on? This is just crazy town.
Temperatures above 100 in British Columbia. And hundreds of people are dead in the Northeast and Southern Canada, dude. Hundreds, not dozens.
Northwest,
yes. Northwest and British Columbia.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people are dead.
Not a laughing matter. All right. So Tata Motors, Tata Power inaugurate India's largest solar carport in Pune, India. This is a 6.2 megawatt solar carport, and Tata, they make cars among other things, and I think they're getting in the EV game. I don't really know what their plans are for EVs, but they're a major player in India. So India is like the new China, right? They have a burgeoning solar industry. They're getting into solar manufacturing, and unbeknownst to me, they are also the home of the world's largest rooftop solar array, which is shown here. It's not a great photo, but talk about a ginormous rooftop solar array. I had no idea. And so it's just great to see what will probably soon be the world's most populous country getting in the game. And a lot of runway there. India is bittersweet, John, because it is also a major coal country, and they're still building coal power plants like China. It's one of these economies where They have many people who don't have access to electricity. They're still building out basic grid infrastructure. And so it's a double edge, but I'm grateful to Tata for being a leader in the clean energy industry.
India, I actually have another India article on here regarding their manufacturing side of things. I'm highly optimistic about them coming into the solar game. They have a solar panel manufacturing mandate because they want to compete with the Chinese. They feel it's a strategic asset, as well with energy storage, and they're incentivizing the whole manufacturing supply chain, starting with polysilicon, wafers, and they're giving companies cash, tax benefits maybe, who do the whole chain instead of just the panel assembly, because they're smart enough to understand that just panel assembly is really light.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that story since you went there. It's on screen now. World's cheapest wafer maker, 1366, plans 2 gigawatt cell and wafer fab.
So
I've never heard of 1366. Are you familiar with them?
So first off, exactly. That's key. Never heard of them. Exactly. They're a person who's been, as Eric Wessoff of Canary Media very well says, they're a company who's been taking investor capital for like 7 years, over $100 million worth. Have they actually deployed a solar panel on the earth yet? I'm not certain. What they suggest that they can do is build up solar cells. It's called kerfless manufacturing. And they, it's going to be, and also they believe they can, so they're direct wafer manufacturing is what they call it. And they'll make a very efficient, very clean, very smart solar cell. They've signed agreements with Q Cells, Hanwha, but they haven't deployed yet. They started in the US. They were a Department of Energy company and won money, but they haven't turned it over yet. So on the one hand, I love that there's now a company who's going into India with a new tech, with a new motivation, with vigor, and somebody's willing to test out this technology. And this is what I was literally thinking in my head. It's like, the United States, we did our technique for pushing solar. Germany had its technique. Japan had its. China had its. And now the world's newest, largest country on the planet, who has a desire to significantly grow their domestic industry, has said, you know what? I'm going to throw down. And I'm going to throw down on this new technology that could help change things a little bit. And so it excites me that a new group, a new set of learning curves, a new set of motivations are pushing solar and pushing solar tech. And this is what's coming of it. Companies who weren't getting a big hardcore shake now might be part of a 2 gigawatt a year factory. Now, 2 gigs, that's, relative to global capacity, which is probably gaining on 400 gigawatts by the end of this year. That's 0.5%. Who cares? It's a brand new tech. And when brand new tech starts to win, it can sometimes take over. And kerfless, I think, has a chance. Kerfless cells could be 1/10 the width, not 1/10. That'd be 500. They could be that's about right. 1/10. Right now solar cells are 150 to 180. 1/20th to 1/30th would be a 5 micrometer wide cell, or double that. So they're going to be smaller, and that's save money, save energy, new tech. It's just the system's still churning. Everybody's still hammering and bringing in the largest country into the world with their engineers and their philosophies and their ideas. It's going to change the game again, just like it did last time, just like it will next time. And I'm just happy with it. I'm happy to see it. So go India, go 1366. I'm glad you've heard of them for the first time now.
Well, I'm super pumped for kerfless. It sounds like a way more efficient manufacturing process. And so if it's just a question of, bringing the cost down to be competitive, right, with ingot-based technology. So, but thank you.
It's probably really close to getting it to work.
Yeah.
Even let alone getting it the price to come down. Got to get it to work, probably.
Yeah. Well, a 2 gigawatt contract is nothing to sneeze at, though. So they must
True.
think they've got something that's real.
True.
I guess we'll find out.
Yep.
So you found a nice video of the iROSA solar array being deployed at the ISS, and I was, I get this playing, but I was pleased to learn that the iROSA is also a test bed, in addition to repowering the solar array on the ISS, which segments of the array do date back to the year 2000. But this new iROSA, as it's called, is a test bed also for the Artemis Gateway, which is the space station that is going to be floating around the moon in support of a permanent moon base. So, well, what a cool video, though. You see it's been sped up significantly as the astronauts are running around there outside the ISS. I marvel at this. This is human ingenuity at its best, John. Holy smokes.
The coolest, I know this sounds trivial, but one of the neatest things I thought of that video was the other solar panels rotate to follow the sun as the ISS circles the Earth. And I know it's obvious, but it's just like, oh, cool. It's they have all the money to build the most complex, coolest things up in space. And because they have to build the most advanced tech. And so it was just neat to see just the whole dance of all that technology as it does its stuff.
Yeah. And here's the iROSA being taken out of the Dragon. This is just another video about the same project. So keep going.
Yeah. So it's just neat to see this. These advancements are going to do something for us. The solar cells one day are going to come to the Earth. Man, look at those solar panels right there. So those solar panels, I read one article talking about one of the goals with the company. They didn't want to make one-off products. They wanted to make products that could be deployed into the solar industry, into the satellite industry of space that they see as a growing, expanding thing. And so this maybe is going to be a market product, a real product that will exist, and it's going to be something that they're thinking will be in demand on a massive amount. So I'm really interested in seeing how this specific product works and how it combines with business desires by groups like Amazon, who wants to make a platform for space entrepreneurs, and Tesla and everyone else. Are there going to be 1 million satellites a little bit further out that are eating asteroids, breaking down the material, pumping it into 3D printers, outputting robots and other material or whatever? And will we now have an energy industry that we've already invented for them? Do we now have the solar panel system we need, or at least the early version of it? We're building space technology to beam solar around. So maybe instead of being, every robot has its own solar panels, maybe we'll just have a giant solar panel system which constantly grows, and then it beams its electricity to the robots who fill up on batteries and then get back to work. They have shifts or something. I don't know. I see the infrastructure coming, and it's just cool to watch. And I think this product that you were showing there is among a new class of products that we will see. So we'll see.
Yeah, I would agree that that package seems to be a beautiful thing. If you're interested in having energy in space, you want the iROSA. So that and a next generation nuclear power plant. It does occur to me, if we can power subs with these small modular reactors, and we're apparently powering the new Mars rover with some kind of a nuclear power station. Can't we power our personal vehicles with these small modular reactors as well? I'm beginning to. I've been a critic of nuclear power because of the accidents like Fukushima, right, that have plagued humanity. But if we can solve the waste problem and make safer reactors, then there's nothing technically unsustainable about nuclear power, right? Today we're using the fusion reactor in the sky. Tomorrow we're using the small modular reactor or a true fusion power reactor here on Earth, which is being worked on in Europe. So anyway, I digress. Let's talk about California, John, because you found a great story here on the blackouts. This comes to us from Rocky Mountain Institute, the California blackout that wasn't. What's the story?
So, you know how we humans are morons, Tim?
Yes, I know.
We have this fascination with failure and car wrecks, and it's probably very logical. When stuff works, it's like, cool, it works. That's your job. Great. Pat you on the back, get back to work. When stuff breaks, people die. And so we're very loss averse and we're risk averse. And, we'd rather plod forward at 10% versus risking 20% and half of our people. And so when things work, we don't care. And when there's a blackout that wasn't, we don't notice because it's just supposed to work. California just had massive heat issues, just had power failure, shut down for fires, all kinds of stuff. But you know what you didn't hear about? You didn't hear about rolling blackouts. You didn't hear about it because they didn't need to do it, because they figured out, hey, we'll add some batteries, we'll work up our demand response system, we'll build up our power grid resilience through experience, knowledge, and intelligence. And in this article, we get to see the batteries. So scroll down a bit. So this is during a blackout. Oh, there it is. So this is from the California ISO, CAISO, their online tools where you get to see all of the grid, and it's instantaneous. Like if you clicked on CAISO and looked at energy maps, you'd see this thing. And this one specifically is just batteries who are utility scale and part of the power grid. And look what happened during the evening time. This is exactly what's supposed to happen. During the evening grid, when everybody comes home and they're turning on the AC, it's hot as hell. There's AC on at work. It set a record temperature, the article said, at 123 degrees in Palm Springs in the desert during this event. And this is the battery system running. These are the batteries turning on for the first time in California. They're going to break a gig. I posted on Twitter asking all the smart people I know, hey, when's a gig going to get hit? I was thinking by July 31st, because that's when I thought a whole bunch of capacity was supposed to come on. But it looks like today yesterday somebody showed 800 plus was a big number. And look at that event right there. Scroll up a tiny bit. Click this one. This is an instant. This is not during the evening peak. See, that evening peak starts at like 5 p.m. That's 1,700 hours is 5 p.m. 6 p.m. is 1,800 hours. I guarantee you from 1,800, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., you can see it from 18 to 20. That's the expensive electricity. That event right there, that 310 output, that's not a planned thing. That was last year. That was every battery we had getting turned on. That event led to rolling blackouts. That's what occurred last year, last September. So that didn't occur. That's expected to occur this September. That's expected to occur when there's heat waves. We just had a heat wave. We didn't have that event. The grid stayed on. The batteries ran. We don't know that there would have been rolling blackouts. California was thinking about it. They're like, hey, what's going to go on? How's this thing's going to happen? And the batteries are coming on. And in about a week, I bet you next week, I bet you before the end of July, we're going to have, and if you go to my Twitter account, you can see it because I asked yesterday, but John Deely showed that on June 30th, there was an 800 megawatt plus battery event. And so my prediction is that within the next month, because it's now July, happy July 1st, buddy. It's now July. This month, we're going to have a 1 gigawatt instantaneous output event of batteries in California, in CAISO territory specifically. And these are utility scale. And that's pretty cool. And that's the future coming, dude. That's it right there. That's that energy storage getting charged by solar and bam, hitting the grid hard. And that's a good future for us. I'm excited about that event occurring, watching it happen. And I hope we celebrate the victory of this instead of letting it pass over as just another advancement. I hope we appreciate what's coming with this. This is the first big power grid deployment of energy storage, and we're watching it happen. And this is the world's biggest market for energy storage concentrated in a tight area, one power grid. This is it. This is we're walking up to the mountaintop, dude, right here.
Well, thanks to Christian Roseland for that story. And I love the shining a light on the outage that was not. And that's very important to document how technologies like batteries are serving the grid. And as you and I have talked about many times on the show, solar and storage make the grid not only more resilient, but they save consumers and business owners huge amounts of money. And they're good for the grid operator. So it's a win-win-win. And that's what pains me so much about that earlier story, right, that you wrote for PV Magazine about the utility lobbies like the Edison Institute trying to stomp on rooftop solar. It's just so backwards and counterproductive, and we don't have time. As I posted recently a little video that Greta Thunberg recorded called "This is not a drill. This is an emergency," right? And we have to really start behaving like this is a real emergency. And yeah, California is on the cutting edge of that, right? You see the rolling blackouts and the fires and the droughts, and this is only going to get worse. And so we have to have a sense of urgency. All right. So speaking of emergencies, you found a story on LinkedIn that is on screen now. And what's the story?
So this is in Syria. And this is a city that has felt war as Syria has gone through a revolution over the last 10 years. And they've lost electricity. It's war. And you can see the structures there getting the crap beat out of them. And this gentleman highlighted that the city has started to come back because he notes they were importing oil at $150 a barrel. And it just wasn't working for the people. It was killing off business. And that is now what's occurring is that they're buying used solar panels from Germany, which are being decommissioned, because Germany's a market since the 90s. And they're using those used solar panels to run their businesses and run their lives. And that is what we can define as the value of resilient, distributed electricity. And I'm going to say something a little different, of course, Tim. I do that occasionally. Mad Max is this future where we have had a whole bunch of shit happen and we're killing each other for water and for energy. And we're not perfect species. We live in a complex universe where entropy seeks to consume us, and civilization is not guaranteed. And if the shit hits the fan, and I know this is a weird thing to say, but if things happen, having distributed rooftop solar will keep us alive as a species in a post-civilization collapse, because the panels will just be everywhere. The infrastructure will be there. And having big giant power plants distributed as well. Some people will use those greatly, but the grid will probably collapse. There won't be any management of it. Infrastructure will fall apart, and we'll scavenge those sites and we'll distribute those panels. But if we go Mad Max and we have pre-existing distributed solar, hopefully this will protect us. Distributed solar. I'm thinking of an article already. I gotta think up the title, Tim. But distributed solar for our Mad Max future.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be my 2054 presidential run candidate title.
Yeah, when I think about that though, that Mad Max scenario, I mean, I'm all for being able to scavenge, solar panels from the landscape, so to speak, but you also need the power electronics. Those are going to be the real limiting factor, right? Because those small suitcases or boxes, they're going to be like gold, because the solar panel is only useful to you if you can empower some established piece of equipment. But anyway, good story.
But even with single panels, when things start to happen, minimal numbers of panels will start to have significant value, because there's charge controllers, like you said, the power electronics, but there's charge controllers and wires, and there's lots of people who know how to hook up a simple 1, 2, 3 set of solar panels that are at a certain DC voltage into a battery, and that battery is hooked up to cheap inverters. There's lots of inverters distributed around the world. So those power electronics, they need to be distributed like the distributed solar. We need to get that stuff out, almost like it's rations, like in the 1950s, distributing, iodine pills and stuff, so that we don't die when the Russians nuke us from radiation, however that works. We should probably be a national security thing. For every house, a solar panel, a charge controller, and an inverter, and some chicken.
Yep, I'll have some solar with my MREs. All right, so moving on, we've got a story about the rooftop, the potential of the commercial solar market is apparently very large. And what's the story?
Well, to be honest, I just wanted to show off the number. So if you could just scroll down and find that number, 145 gigawatts. They talk about some stats, and the story is cool too. But it's so they say addressable. Overall, 70% of U.S. commercial, this is about 2 paragraphs down, 70% of U.S. commercial buildings don't have solar, that have greater than 10,000 feet, that have a lot of viability. And those sites equal 145 gigs of capacity. And that's a lot of volume. I mean, US right now, we're at just over 100 gigs. We just passed 100 gigs in January. So if we could, maybe we got some job security. Well, me at least, because I do rooftop solar. You're a big grid ground guy, Tim. So you do all these like large scale.
But John, does this mean that 30% of large commercial buildings greater than 10,000 square feet have solar on them already?
That's what that assumption is there, sort of, kind of, but I don't know. Maybe I should text or tweet Michelle and ask her, because
let's find out, because that's an impressive number. If that's the reality, that we have already solarized 30%.
I'm on Twitter. I'll get it done. I'll get my job done.
But yeah, 145 gigawatts of capacity is a nice number.
Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to say that number out loud. 145 gigawatts.
What is the goal? Like 2 terawatts? Is that the goal for cleaning the grid?
2 terawatts for solar, and that includes cars. I think it's maybe 3 terawatts with cars, but there's a whole bunch of wind too. Oh, and here's some behind the meter capacity, numbers. I think that's total capacity, cumulative. I don't think that's individual yearly sales, because we're not going to have 60 gigs of behind the meter. But they're expecting it to go from 30 to 58. So that's 18, 30 to 58. That's 28, 25 gigs of solar, 20-ish.
Yeah, it's our commercial industrial solar installer colleagues know this, that commercial industrial solar is the one segment of the solar industry that is really lagging, so to speak. Residential and utility scale have grown faster. And, I have my theories about why that is. It's the capital expense is a factor for business owners. And that's why there's such an open door for third-party ownership, PPAs. But there's such potential. And when you fly over any major city, you see this, right? There's just huge amounts of flat commercial rooftops all over the place. And those could be community solar projects. They could be behind the meter projects. I was just talking to a colleague, a developer based in the DC area, and they just signed a lease, I think he said 30, I think it was 30 megawatts of rooftop community solar in Illinois. So this is for the next tranche of community solar that's going to come once we get that clean energy legislation that is currently languishing in Springfield. But we're crossing our fingers. Hopefully in July or August, we'll get that across the finish line.
Interesting.
So we just have time for one or two more stories, John. You have an opinion?
I think we referenced Jinko and their 30% perovskite. Let me bring that. Yeah. Oops. Yes. Got to talk about that one.
All right. Let's go there. Jinko announces perovskite cell technology platform promising efficiencies close to 30%, which is very high, right? The best of breed is 24% today, give or take.
Yeah, there's actually a Jinko and a Longi solar cell that have broken 25%.
Okay.
They're TopCon, very, very recent, within the last month or three. And those are the two leading cells. It might be an N-type. One's a TopCon, one's a N-type solar cell. But what this is that Jinko said, now they gave a cool thing and then a tempered thing. So the cool thing is 30% solar cell perovskite expected to be tested by the end of the year. And they said over 30% within the year, not by the end of the year. So within the year. So there's that. That's cool. Perovskite. Now, is this going to be a perovskite plus silicon tandem solar cell? I think yes. I don't think it's going to be a perovskite. I think it's going to be a layer that's atop. There already existed. And I think they're going to take like their TopCon, or they're going to take their N-type, like their most advanced cell that's like a 25%er. And they're going to slide this perovskite layer on top of it. And it's going to jacket 20, 30%. And they might even be a 31, 32% cell within a pretty soon period afterwards. And so then they said a separate thing, and it's not mentioned in the article, but you can find it on the quarterly conference call, the notes. And they said they put together a manufacturing line that, or a base that surrounds this. So a technology base. And what that could be interpreted to mean, or what it is being interpreted by me, is that they're putting together the infrastructure to manufacture the polysilicon, to manufacture the perovskite, to manufacture all the pieces, the machines, the testing infrastructure, everything, so that they can say, okay, not only do we have a cool science project, but we got 100 megawatt power factory, a line that's now producing and deploying product. And now we got a 20 gigawatt factory structure, factory family. So we're talking manufacturing, wafers, cells, combination, and then modules. And that's what I think is coming. And they said 3 to 5 years before they think the product's going to hit the market for a 30% solar cell. And so that means they're going to hopefully take the cell from above 30% at the end of the year and then have it in the field on a fully manufactured volume. And for the largest company in the world, that means single digit gigs up to double digit gigs, like, 50. They're going to drop a 50. I'm just saying this because, I like to exaggerate. They're going to drop a 50 gig factory of silicon, perovskite, tandem solar panels on us. And they're going to be a 28, 29% solar panel.
A big solar panel factory today is what, 10?
I said the 50, a big one is 10 to 20, but there is a 50 gigawatt facility and a 60 gigawatt facility from two separate groups that are full scale. I mean, wafer, cell, module. Like, so that's multiple factories at 50 and 60 gig capacity. Those are the biggest I know of, a 60 and a 50. Two unique locations.
But are you saying that if there are factories that are rolling out 50 gigs of panels, or all said 50 gigs of panels?
And 50 gigs of wafers and 50 gigs of cells.
Yeah.
All in the same business district. Two groups, two separate groups. Yeah, the 50 gig one, I believe, is only at 20 gigs running, maybe 15 gigs running. The 60 gig one, I'm not sure if it's running yet, but it's being built. I don't know. I read too much. It all blends together after a while. We have to do one more story because we talked about it, and it's the flow battery one because it was in the in our headline thing. And,
yeah. Red Flow.
So it's a flow battery. They're from Australia. They started off doing way off grid residential projects out in the what do they call it in Australia? They have the giant desert where everything kills you. I don't know, but that's where they started.
The Outback?
The Outback. There we go. Yeah. They got great whites in the Outback,
It's true though. Nature in Australia is one of the more dangerous places, right? There's more toxic animals, poisonous animals, I think, than anywhere else. But,
so they started in the Outback, like houses way out in the middle of nowhere with these flow batteries, 20 years, no degradation. You just got to run the filters. And then they started doing batteries with remote wireless areas. They raised some money in the UK. They're slowly growing. They got a factory in Thailand. And now they're raising more money with a goal, it seems, to get into the US. And what they're going to be selling is that right where you're at, the Gen 3 10 kWh model. And it's a zinc bromine flow. They're going to have to hook it up with a standard inverter to manage it, but it's a 10 kW base unit. And so that's solid. A Powerwall is like 15 now, the Gen 3 one that just came out, 14, 15 kWh. So with these, it's really easy to daisy chain them. And each one just looks like, a plastic. You should type in, see if we can see here. Click on that link right there, the new Energy Pod Z. Let's see if they give us a decent image. So you can get a picture. Oh, it's the same damn image. Okay, so see that little plastic thing behind the gentleman on the left?
This?
No, on the left side. Keep going left. That thing behind him. Yeah, that's the base unit.
Okay.
Red Flow. That thing on the right is the power electronics for all that stuff being integrated. You can see multiple units, but it's about the size of a plastic bin. Keep scrolling. Maybe they give us a decent picture. Nothing, anything. Come on, guys. This website's been talking about Red Flow forever, so it's not cool to show off their hardware anymore. Oh, type in Red Flow's website. Maybe we can find it. Just type in Red Flow into Google. Red Flow Pod Z. Let's see what pops up. And just so we can get a look at the unit. Click right there. Let's see. Come on, show us. So that's their site. Let's just see if they give us. Oh, same picture. So those are the combined units. Maybe click on the top. Just energy storage. Residential. Here we go. I just want people to see this. Oh, so that's the Z cell. So that's the pretty, okay, so perfect. You did better than I even thought. So this is the Pod Z, but in the residential version. Inside of that is all the gear. This is a 10 kW unit. That's for your house. I think it's like $10,000, $12,000. It's more expensive than I think it's 10,000 Australian. It's going to be like 12, 13 US because the Australian dollar is a little stronger. That's a Resi one. The other unit, the Pod Z, you combine those up in the commercial. And so this company's looking to get into the US market. I hope they bring this unit, that sweet little carry-on unit almost, for the residential market. I would love to sell it. I'd love to have a chance to push that unit out. It's a pretty cool little unit. It's got a great warranty. I'm just interested in it. I want to see some flow batteries. I think they got a chance. Lithium ion is going to whoop. It's going to do amazingly well. But flow batteries are going to have a big market. And so it's cool. It's cool to see that company coming. New tech.
Yeah, it does seem like flow batteries are in the news a lot, I have to say. And we will be showing off a flow battery project later this year, hopefully. It's TBD if the owner is going to move fast enough to get it in the ground this year. But anyway, it's, when I think about in putting a residential battery in my garage, my concern with flow battery is, well, what are you fueling it with? And is the company going to be around in 10 years? And that's why I would probably default to one of the more established, the LG Chem or Tesla. But there's going to be room for many technologies. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad to see flow coming on. Flow is flowing. Well, John, we've done it again, and we've come to the end of episode 50 of the Clean Power Hour. How can our listeners find you, the commercial solar guy?
Type commercial solar guy into any digital platform you have, whether it's anything except for TikTok. I don't have a TikTok account. We should get one of those. But I got a website. I'm on PV Magazine USA, Twitter, LinkedIn, whichever platform is your preferred. I try my best to get some data there, and we're out there. Or you could just call us, and we'll consult, we'll build, we develop. We got some cool announcements moving. We're moving from a business standpoint, growing. It's bigger than John Fitzgerald Weaver by far nowadays. Is it's a cool thing about the company. So.
Very good. Check it out at commercialsolarguy.com. And you can reach me, Tim Montague, at cesnrg.com/podcast. That's where all of the Clean Power Hour content is. And we are bringing you a Clean Power Hour once a week. And then also the Solar Podcast, which is interviews with people like Shala, the solar artist, people like Lexi Hain, the director of the American Solar Grazing Association, folks like Mike Silvestrini, who is the founding partner of Energia, doing impact investing for solar projects in Africa and Brazil. So check it out at cesnrg.com. Please subscribe to the channel. Give it a thumbs up. You can also find the Clean Power Hour on your favorite podcast platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. So please subscribe, like, share it with your friends, and reach out to us. Tell us what you want to hear about. That's the most valuable feedback that you can give us, is what is important to you. With that, John, I will say sayonara, and I will see you on the other side of the 4th of July. Have a great weekend, and let's grow solar and storage.